Prince William walked into a private Windsor meeting expecting a tense family discussion. What he did not expect was to hear his mother, Diana's name become the center of a shocking accusation that split the room.
She was the villain. She was the third person in the marriage. She needed to rehabilitate her image.
When Diana's brother placed a confidential file before King Charles and directly accused Camilla of backing a plan involving Diana's legacy, William's composure cracked. In that moment, he was no longer the future king protecting the crown, but a grieving son facing an old heartbreak once again. Before we go further, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates. Behind those closed doors, only William, King Charles, Camilla, and Charles Spencer were present. No aides, press officers, or palace staff were allowed inside.
You feel pain like no other pain, and you know that in your life it's going to be very difficult to.
Windsor Castle became the setting where family pain clashed with royal authority. Spencer had requested the meeting after claiming he uncovered a plan to reduce his family's role in future memorials, archive access, and decisions about how Diana's story would be shared with future generations. Spencer did not hold back. He accused Camilla in front of Charles of supporting a private palace effort to push the Spencer family out of official decisions about Diana's legacy. William stayed silent, gripping the arm of his chair as his uncle pointed to private letters, changed memorial plans, and recorded conversations that, according to Spencer, treated the late princess as a political issue instead of his mother.
You and your brother both directly asked your dad not to marry Camilla.
Yes.
Why?
We didn't think it was necessary.
Camilla rejected the accusation and looked to Charles for support. He did not respond. Instead, he quietly studied the file, and that silence unsettled William more than any argument could have. Camilla insisted the proposal was meant to protect the monarchy, but to William it made the institution feel distant and unforgiving. Spencer slid another page across the table. According to him, it outlined a proposal to keep future references to Diana under tighter royal control while limiting the Spencer family's role. William asked who had approved it. No one answered. He repeated the question, his voice breaking, but the room stayed silent. Overcome with emotion, he stood, tried to speak, and broke down after years of carrying that grief.
We thought that it was going to cause more harm than good, and that if he was now with his person, that surely that's enough.
Charles then noticed a handwritten note beside Camilla's name. Spencer argued it suggested the plan had started earlier than publicly acknowledged, and that one key event involving Diana's grandchildren had set the stage for that night's confrontation. But William's reaction was only the beginning. To understand why Spencer chose that moment, the emotions and loyalties of everyone in the room had to be revealed. The meeting was about far more than palace procedure. Each person carried a different memory of Diana, shaped by grief, loyalty, regret, or fear. William remembered his mother. Spencer remembered his sister. Charles faced an unresolved chapter of his past, while Camilla confronted a legacy that, in Spencer's view, still cast a long shadow. William had lived with that conflict for years. As Diana's eldest son and the Prince of Wales, he was expected to stand with the crown, but his mother's memory was deeply personal. It influenced his life, his marriage to Catherine, and how he raised George, Charlotte, and Louis.
Why go that far when you don't necessarily need to? We wanted him to be happy, and we saw how happy he was with her. So at the time it was, okay.
Spencer, despite his distance from the royal household, remained devoted to protecting his sister's legacy. Spencer believed Diana's story belonged not only in palace records and official ceremonies, but also to the family who knew her before royal life changed everything. He felt any attempt to reshape that history without the Spencer family's involvement had gone too far. Before the meeting, William had read his uncle's handwritten request alone. Catherine noticed his expression change and asked if he wanted her with him. He quietly said no. This was something he had to face as Diana's son, not as the future king. She squeezed his hand before he left, sensing the meeting would become far more than a discussion about palace procedure.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
That made her dangerous.
That made her dangerous because of the connections that she was forging within the British press.
Earlier, Charles had heard Camilla's explanation. She said the proposal had been misunderstood and was only meant to avoid confusion. The king replied that people felt excluded, and that was the real problem. According to Spencer, Camilla also worried that giving the Spencer family a bigger role could challenge the palace's influence over Diana's legacy. Then Spencer presented what he described as his strongest evidence, a letter Diana had written during a difficult period. In it, she expressed concern that others might one day reshape or control how her life would be remembered after her death. When Spencer called her "my sister," William visibly reacted, reminded that Diana had been part of a family long before becoming a royal figure. Then Spencer claimed the proposal had not started because of old disagreements. Instead, he argued it began after a recent ceremony when one private exchange involving Princess Charlotte changed everything. According to his account, that event marked the point when private concerns turned into a written palace proposal. Months before the Windsor meeting, the royal family had gathered for what appeared to be a respectful tribute to Diana.
If you are led to believe as a member of the family that being on the front page, having positive headlines, positive stories written about you is going to improve your reputation or increase the chances of you being accepted as monarch by the British public, then that's what you're going to do.
The event was carefully planned, every speech was approved, and every public moment was tightly managed. But after the guests left, Princess Charlotte asked a simple question about her grandmother Diana. According to Spencer's account, the conversation that followed became the starting point of everything that came later.
The Diana legacy reception was meant to bring both sides of Diana's family together. William arrived with Catherine, George, and Charlotte, while King Charles, Camilla, charity representatives, and members of the Spencer family gathered at Kensington Palace to honor Diana's humanitarian work. Diana's legacy had always connected two worlds: the royal family she married into and the family she was born into. After the speeches, Charlotte stopped by one of Diana's handwritten charity notes and asked Charles Spencer why she had never visited the family archive at Althorpe. Spencer explained that it held Diana's letters, photographs, and personal records, then told Charlotte that all of Diana's grandchildren would always be welcome there. William overheard the exchange and was deeply moved. His daughter was not asking about royal traditions or titles. She simply wanted to know more about the grandmother she had never met. Catherine noticed William's expression change as Spencer spoke with Charlotte, and he realized Diana's absence was now something his children were beginning to feel as well. Later, Camilla discussed the moment with Charles. According to Spencer's account, she expressed concern that giving the children direct access to the Spencer family could create different versions of Diana's story. Charles appeared uneasy but did not argue. Spencer further claimed that later that evening, Camilla met privately with a senior household advisor while William was absent. According to what Spencer described as an internal recorded account, a request was made to place all Diana-related events, documents, and memorial invitations under one royal approval system. Days later, a draft proposal reportedly appeared. Spencer claimed it recommended limiting the Spencer family's role, routing contact with Diana's grandchildren through palace offices, and restricting outside archive material from influencing the official royal narrative. Charles reportedly reviewed the draft in his private study. He read one section about Charlotte twice, took off his glasses, and set the papers aside without approving them. Camilla argued that delaying a decision would only make the situation harder to manage. Spencer later said he obtained evidence of that meeting and believed it revealed what had happened. In Spencer's view, one innocent question had led to an organized effort to create more distance between Diana's family and her grandchildren. Carrying documents he said connected Charlotte's question to the proposal, he arrived at Windsor determined to confront Camilla in front of Charles and William. Spencer remained calm as he opened the file. He placed one of Diana's old letters beside the proposal and asked Camilla if she truly believed a mother's memory could be separated from her own family. Camilla met his gaze while Charles stayed silent. William watched as the discussion centered on his mother's legacy. Spencer pointed to advisor notes, revised access rules, and documents he said limited contact with Diana's grandchildren. Charles described the matter as an internal palace governance issue involving schedules, records, and family access. Spencer rejected that explanation, saying no administrative phrase could hide the emotional purpose of removing her own family from decisions made in her name. Spencer then
allegations
turned
regarding the
to
misuse
Camilla.
of Royal Association
Did you
through
request a
Meghan's
plan that
Archibald
would keep
Foundation
Diana's
are now under
grandchildren from
legal
learning
review?
about her without palace supervision? The question changed the mood instantly. Camilla acknowledged asking for greater coordination, but denied trying to erase or diminish Diana's legacy. She said her goal was to prevent William's children from being caught between different family accounts. William could no longer stay quiet. He told Camilla that his children were not part of a political dispute, and that Charlotte's desire to learn about Diana should never have been treated as a problem. His anger went beyond one proposal. He had worked for years to protect his family from old wounds, only to believe new barriers were being placed around his mother's memory. Spencer then presented another document that he said came from the advisor who drafted the proposal. According to Spencer, it recorded concerns that growing public comparisons between Charlotte and Diana could affect Camilla's standing in the future. Charles turned to Camilla and asked if she had made those remarks. She paused before replying, and William found the silence unsettling. Camilla said the comment had been taken out of context, but Spencer argued that the note, meeting record, and revised proposal all supported the same conclusion. Charles closed the folder, but Spencer placed a hand on it before it could be moved. He told the king silence had protected painful situations before and should not do so again. William watched his father closely, knowing the next decision rested with him. According to Spencer, although advisors drafted the proposal and Camilla supported it, only the king had the authority to stop it permanently. For several long moments, Charles said nothing, and the room remained heavy with tension. William looked at his father, waiting to see whether the king would stand by his wife or protect Diana's legacy. The proposal had not become official because Charles had never signed it, but according to Spencer, changes had already begun. Invitations had been reportedly adjusted, access to documents limited, and communication with the Spencer family slowed.
Spencer argued that the framework gave the palace greater control over future decisions about Diana's legacy. Only the king could cancel it, order a review, or let it move forward. Camilla broke the silence first. She warned Charles that abandoning the proposal in front of Spencer could make the accusations appear justified. Camilla insisted she had never tried to suppress Diana's memory and asked Charles not to damage their marriage over a conflict that had lasted for years. Spencer watched closely, believing the king's response would determine whether the palace viewed the issue as a misunderstanding or something far more serious. Before Charles could answer, William spoke. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. He told his father he was not asking him to choose Diana over Camilla. He was asking him to choose honesty over control. William said his mother's memory should never depend on what was most comfortable for the palace. Charles looked at his son and saw the grief he had carried since Diana's death. He reached toward William, but William stepped back. Then Spencer revealed one final document. According to Spencer, it showed parts of the proposal were scheduled to begin before Diana's next major anniversary, making the changes appear routine. Charles reread the dates and realized advisors may have moved the plan forward before receiving his final approval. The king made his decision. He picked up a fountain pen, drew a bold line across the authorization page, and wrote that the entire framework was to stop immediately. He then ordered the file sealed while a full review determined who was responsible. Camilla sat in silence. William was visibly shaken, and Spencer quietly closed Diana's letter. According to the account, Charles had halted the proposal with one signature, but the decision did not rebuild trust. Instead, it exposed the anger, grief, and tension that had been building behind closed doors. The meeting ended without any reconciliation. Spencer collected Diana's letter, William left without looking at Camilla, and Charles remained seated beside the marked-up documents. Soon the family separated into different rooms, each carrying their own emotions. Even if the proposal had been stopped, the personal impact remained. Charles instructed his private secretary to suspend every directive linked to the reported Diana legacy framework and identify any officials who had acted before receiving his approval. Spencer also received written assurance, according to the account, that his family would continue to be involved in commemorations, archive discussions, and private matters relating to Diana's legacy. William barely noticed the conversations around him. He walked into a quiet corridor, rested one hand on a table, and struggled to steady himself. Spencer followed but said nothing. He believed William did not need another debate, only space to grieve as Diana's son, not simply as the Prince of Wales. Meanwhile, Camilla returned to her private rooms and quietly removed the brooch she had worn to the meeting. She set the brooch beside a framed photo of Charles and stared at it quietly. Camilla had expected criticism, but not to be challenged in front of Diana's brother and son. When a courtier told her the reported framework had been frozen, she replied, "Then they have already decided what they believe." Her frustration soon gave way to worry. According to the account, the review uncovered that 2 officials had removed Spencer family representatives from an early guest list and delayed a request for Princess Charlotte to visit Althorpe, Diana's childhood home, and the location of the family archive. William then discovered that Catherine had received a revised schedule that no longer included the visit. He realized the reported plan may have already been affecting his children's lives before he even knew about it. Charles summoned the senior advisor and asked why instructions had been issued before he had approved them. The advisor replied that many believed the king would eventually agree because Camilla supported the proposal. Charles dismissed him, but he knew that alone could not repair the damage. Charles also realized that no investigation or sealed file could restore trust. Only one conversation remained. Later that evening, he asked William to meet him alone. There were no advisors, no secretaries, no prepared statements. Setting aside his royal duties for the moment, Charles faced the son who had broken down just hours earlier. This time, Diana was not discussed as a royal figure or public symbol, but as the woman they had both loved and, in different ways, believed they had failed. Charles chose a small sitting room instead of his official study. That choice mattered because the study represented royal authority, while this room belonged only to a father and son. Between them sat tea, the cancelled proposal, and a copy of one of Diana's letters. William walked in expecting more explanations. Instead, Charles began with an apology. He admitted he should have stopped the proposal as soon as he saw it. By waiting, he said, he had allowed advisors to treat Diana's legacy as something that could be managed and controlled.
William listened quietly before answering. He told his father that Camilla's reported request was not what hurt most. The deepest pain came from seeing Charles hesitate after Spencer presented everything. For a moment, William said, he no longer felt like a husband, a father, or the future king. He felt like the young boy who had waited for someone to defend his mother. Charles lowered his head and admitted that he had been trying to protect Camilla from public embarrassment.
In doing so, he realized he had hurt his son. William became emotional again, but this time he did not look away. Charles moved to sit beside him, and the two remained silent without advisors, titles, or formal language between them. Even though nothing was fully resolved, their relationship had begun to change. Charles then shared a new written proposal. He suggested creating a joint family council to oversee Diana's legacy, including memorials, archives, and future decisions about her memory. William would lead the group, with Catherine and the Spencer family taking part, while Diana's grandchildren would join when they were older. William agreed, but on one condition: the council could never become another way to control Diana's legacy. Charles added that neither Camilla nor any palace office would have sole authority over decisions involving Diana's memory. William then folded the cancelled proposal and placed it into the fireplace. Charles silently watched the pages burn. According to the account, the private meeting soon became national news. By morning, broadcasters changed their schedules, newspapers rewrote their front pages, and crowds gathered outside royal residences holding photographs of Diana. Commentators debated whether William's tears reflected personal grief or a wider challenge to years of palace tradition. One image appeared everywhere: William leaving Windsor with red eyes, while Charles Spencer walked a few steps behind him. The palace responded with a carefully worded statement confirming that the reported framework had been cancelled and that future decisions about Diana's commemorations would include the Spencer family. Camilla was not mentioned, but the reference to greater family involvement drew public attention. William watched the growing media coverage with concern, worried people would see him as weak. Catherine reassured him, saying the public had not watched a future king fail. They had seen a son determined to protect his mother's memory. Outside Kensington Palace, people placed white roses near Diana's memorial in a quiet show of respect. By midday, more people arrived, leaving flowers, photos, handwritten notes, and messages of support for William. Public sympathy had always influenced how Diana's legacy was viewed, and now much of that support appeared to be shifting toward her son. Camilla watched as one broadcaster described the reported controversy as her biggest public challenge since becoming queen. She turned off the television and stayed alone. According to the account, Charles's silence during the meeting was being interpreted by many as meaningful, while the official statement's failure to mention Camilla did little to quiet speculation. Pressure increased when reports about the dismissed advisor's role became public. Charles responded by announcing an internal reorganization of the office involved, and later released a personal statement. He said Diana's contribution to the monarchy and the nation would be honored with the participation of both her sons and the Spencer family. William read every word, but believed the real challenge was still ahead. He had to decide whether this painful moment would deepen old divisions or become the start of something better. Instead of another confrontation, William chose a different path. Days later, he privately visited Althorp with Catherine, George, Charlotte, and Louis. There were no cameras or palace officials. Standing at Diana's resting place, he made a personal promise. Her memory would not only be defended in times of conflict, but honored openly with both sides of her family. According to the account, he later established the Diana Family Legacy Council to support memorials, archives, charity work, and future decisions connected to her legacy. The council would be led by William alongside Catherine, Charles Spencer, representatives from Diana's charities, and, in time, the next generation. According to the account, its charter guaranteed the Spencer family's involvement, protected important records, and ensured no single royal household could control decisions about Diana's legacy alone. At Althorp, Princess Charlotte gave the moment its greatest meaning. Standing beside her father, she quietly asked if her grandmother would have been proud of him.
William paused, took her hand, and replied that Diana would have been proud the family had finally chosen honesty over fear. George and Louis stayed close as Catherine watched William turn years of grief into something better for their children. When William later met with Charles, he accepted his father's apology but made one thing clear: rebuilding trust would depend on honesty. Charles agreed, realizing that being a father had to come before protecting the institution. According to the story, Camilla later acknowledged that the original proposal had been driven by fear and stepped away from future decisions involving
Allegations
Diana's
regarding the
legacy.
misuse of royal association
Spencer
through
then
Meghan's
entrusted
Archwell
Diana's
Foundation
original
are
letter
now
to
under
William,
legal review.
reminding him that honoring his mother did not mean living forever in the pain of losing her. William placed the letter in the family archive beside photographs and handwritten memories for Diana's grandchildren. He locked the cabinet himself, not to keep secrets, but to protect a legacy. According to this account, Charles rebuilt his relationship with William by admitting his mistakes. Spencer secured his family's place in Diana's story, and William transformed his grief into lasting action. Whether every detail of this story is accurate or not, one message stands out. Diana's memory continues to inspire powerful emotions, and her legacy remains deeply important to those who loved her. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with others. We'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and join the conversation. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.